Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be ranking every single concealer product I tried during 2024. Now I did these videos last year and I gotta say last year I had a lot more concealer products than this year. I guess not that many that caught my interest came out. The good thing though is that my number one most favorite concealer at the moment I happened to have tried this year, and it is my number one in this video, so definitely stay tuned because this concealer is not talked about much and it is just perfection for the under eye area. Okay, look at my under eyes. I'm using a couple of the products I will talk about in today's video under my eyes, and these are like my perfect under eye combo. No creasing, lots of brightness, stays forever, just honestly the best. So I'm going to be ranking this year's concealers that I tried from worst to best. And this year I only tried 8 new concealers. I feel like I tried a lot of new concealers towards the end of last year, so last year's ranking was very good. However, as I said, one of the concealers I tried this year is my number one current favorite in my whole collection. Anyways, I have 8 concealers total in front of me, and I gotta say all of them are good. I have not tried a concealer this year that I hated. Nothing that became super dry under my eyes, nothing that gave me hella creases, none of that. However, I do have a preference when it comes to concealers. I tend to not love super thick concealers because thicker concealers tend to be the ones that crease on me or dry out my under eyes. I prefer concealers that are hydrating with a natural or luminous finish, and concealers that are on the thinner side because I find that those on my dry skin are the ones that tend to crease less. At number 8, my least favorite concealer I tried this year. Well, I don't have to put quotations against it because it truly is my least favorite, but it's not a bad concealer. That's what the quotations were for, I guess. Not a bad concealer, but my least favorite I tried this year is this one right here, which honestly I liked. This is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro 18-hour wear concealer. This is a very long-lasting concealer. Here's what the wand of this one looks like. Very long-lasting concealer with a bit of a creamier formula, very long wearing for sure, and a lot of coverage. I have a shade that matches, but I guess this one isn't it. This is 200 Light, which is a bit too yellow and dark for me. You can see the coverage of this concealer is insane. If you're looking for a full coverage concealer, if that is your preference, definitely consider this one because like I said, this is a good concealer overall. My preference isn't necessarily a super full coverage concealer because I like to color correct under my eyes, and so this one, because it has a lot of coverage on my dry skin, tends to just feel a little heavier under the eyes, and that is the reason why it's my least favorite one this year. But it's not a bad, I mean, you can see how a little bit goes a humongous way, and the coverage is amazing, but it just, like I said, feels a little bit heavier underneath my eyes. I have to powder it a little extra because it's not a super thin formula for it not to crease under my eyes, and so for those reasons this one's my least favorite, but I still like it. And as I was saying, if your preference is full coverage concealer, that might just be the best one for you from all of the ones I've tried, because that is a very full coverage concealer and the formula isn't drying at all. So anyways, this right here is number 8. Moving on to number 7. Number 7 is kind of a weird makeup brand I happened to try this year because it was sent to me in PR. And out of everything I tried, I will say the concealer was probably one of the best things, and I'm talking about Dundas Beauty. You can find this on Amazon. Of course, everything I'm talking about will be listed and linked down below in the description box, so if you are wanting to try any of the concealers I talk about today, definitely check out the links below. I'll also go ahead and tag the ones that I can on the screen through YouTube shopping, so if you rather shop that way you can also do so. Anyways, Dundas is on Amazon, I was saying, and their concealer is really good. This one is number 2, which is my preferred shade, and it is a cream stick concealer. I usually don't love cream stick concealers just because I prefer a liquid. And I think that definitely affects my putting it a bit further back on the list, just because it's not a formula I tend to gravitate towards. However, for a cream concealer, this one is a 10 out of 10. It is excellent. I'm telling you, all of the concealers I tried this year I liked. So take a look right here. This one has a beautiful medium coverage, and as you could clearly see, it blends out super naturally. It blends out incredibly. This one is a really good concealer for like color correcting spots, but also you can definitely use it under your eyes. I will say one of the reasons usually this isn't my preferred formula when it comes to concealer is that creamier formulas tend to be thicker, and thicker formulas tend to crease underneath my eyes. And none of that happens with this one. This is a very thin, very hydrating cream formula that does not tend to crease underneath my eyes. It honestly is lovely. So this one here is number 7. If you're into cream stick type concealers, definitely give this one a try. At number 6, I have this one here from Danessa Myricks, the Yummy Skin Lift and Flex Concealer. This one says it's for face and eyes. I have mine in shade 4. It has a teeny tiny wand applicator, and this one is pretty liquidy. It's definitely more liquidy than creamy, and the coverage on this one is really nice. I would say medium buildable to full maybe. It is a bit more natural to matte, the formula, rather than natural to glowy or natural to radiant, and so I do prefer natural to glowy, I would say. Maybe that is the reason this one falls a little bit back for me. With that said, I love it. It is a beautiful concealer with a fantastic coverage. I'm telling you, every concealer I tried this year surprised me. The coverage is amazing. It looks natural. The formula feels great. It does not dry out my dry skin, even though it has a natural to matte formula. So I really like this one as well, and if you like the description of what I said it looks like, definitely check it out. I think, again, just makeup preference wise, I prefer concealers that are a bit more natural to glowy, and so the rest of the ones I have in front of this one are like that, and I think that's the reason this one is number 6. But with that said, for a natural to matte concealer, I love it because it is very thin and it doesn't crease underneath my eyes. Moving on to my 5th most favorite concealer this year, this one right here from Saie Beauty. This is the Saie Beauty Slip Tint Concentrate. This one is shade 6, I believe shade 5 also works for me. Here's what the wand for this one looks like. It's thick but not too thick, and this one is a beautifully, I'll do the gesture again because the camera went out of focus, liquidy concealer with a beautiful glowy finish. This one has a beautiful medium coverage formula, and as you can see, it's a lot glowier than the ones I've shown you so far. This one has a glowy finish to it. It feels hydrating underneath the eyes. Because the formula is kind of creamy to thin, I would say, it doesn't crease once you set it with translucent powder. I always set my concealer with translucent powder, so do take that into account. There's only one concealer in my ranking, which I'll talk about once I get there, where I feel confident in not wearing translucent powder with it and being okay all throughout the day. But for the most part, I always set my concealer with translucent powder. Anyways, natural to glowy finish, beautiful medium buildable coverage. It feels like a tiny, teeny bit maybe tacky, but really not much. And again, once you set it with translucent powder, that goes away. It is a beautiful formula. I love that it's pretty much on the thinner side, and it covers everything I want covered. And so for all of those reasons, I really like this one, and I found myself using it quite a bit this year. So this right here is number 5. At number 4, I have a color corrector that I was using non-stop for months and months this year, and that is this one right here, which was the first product I ever tried from Cosmetics, and it definitely surprised me. This is the Cali Hideaway Concealer or Corrector. It's like a corrector concealer product. I have mine in a shade that it's too dark for me, Cool Sunrise. but I like it a lot because it's a color that hides my under eye circles really nicely. So when it comes to my concealer routine, my under eye coverage routine, if you will, I like to use a very thin color corrector first, just where I have purpley hues underneath the eyes, so that the purpley hues get neutralized and don't show through my concealer. So I can't even show you where my purpley hues are right now because I have a color corrector on, but like right here and on the inner corner of my eyes, I have purple hues that show through concealer, and so I neutralize them with a color corrector. And I love the consistency and formula of this one. I then go on with the brightening concealer over top to brighten the under eye area, and then I set everything with a light translucent powder. So when it comes to color corrector, this one I find to be fantastic. It's a very thin formula that gets the job done very nicely. It definitely neutralizes the circles underneath my eyes. I like that the formula of this one is extremely thin. It blends right into the skin, correcting the purple hues and almost immediately disappearing into the skin, which I absolutely love for a color corrector. It has a natural to glowy finish to it. When it comes to color correcting, something that is very thin, that sinks right in, and that has the right shade of peach to neutralize the purple hues underneath my eyes is all I need. And this one does a fantastic job at doing all of that. So if you, like me, love using color correctors, I highly recommend this one. Another way I use color correctors, by the way, is on natural days when I'm not doing like a full glam everything makeup type of day, when I just want to wear a little tint with a little bronzer, some mascara, and a little something under the eyes. I opt for a color corrector rather than a concealer because the main thing I want is for the purpley hues to go away. I don't need my under eyes brightened on a very natural day, and so this right here does a fantastic job at that as well. Now I do have another color corrector I ended up liking even better than this one this year, which I'll talk about next because it is my third most favorite under eye product this year, and that is the Tarte Creaseless Corrector right here. It honestly comes down to the consistency of this one, and also I think the color is a little better. So my Tarte Creaseless Corrector I have in the shade Peach, and I just love the consistency of this one because, and I know I think I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here because I said I love a thin color corrector, which I do. However, I think this one being very watery, you put it in the purpley hue underneath the eye and it tends to not just stay in place, but because it's so watery, maybe go around the area a little bit. And when it comes to color correcting, I definitely prefer my product to stay where I put it and not spread too much, because then you end up with orange looking under eyes because these are orangey looking products. The point of a color corrector is to neutralize the purple, not to make your under eyes look peachy, right? And so in order not to make your under eyes look peachy, you need to put it exactly where the purple hue is and nowhere around it. This one I think spreads a little too far if I apply a little bit too much, so I have to be very careful with it. And this one, because the formula is not as thin, it's still very thin and it doesn't crease, which I love, but because it's not as thin as the Cali Ray one, it's a little bit more creamy. I tend to prefer. Anyways, let me show you the wand of this one. As you can see, it has a little brush applicator, which also helps because it makes it so that I can point exactly to where the purpley hues are. And then once you swatch it, take a look at the swatch right there. It doesn't spread as far as the Cali Ray one. It stays in place and it's an extremely thin formula. So maybe I'm not contradicting myself as much as I thought I was, because I don't know how to explain it, but it has a creamier consistency that feels very thin versus this one having a very thin consistency that is a little bit more watery. I guess that's the way to explain it. Anyways, my point is, because I feel like I am confusing you at this point, this Tarte color corrector right here stays put exactly on top of where you place it, which ideally, like I was saying, is on top of the purpley hue underneath the eyes. It stays put, it corrects the darkness or purpliness that you're trying to hide. It doesn't spread. further out than you need it to, and because the formula is very thin, it just kind of sinks right into the skin, looking very skin-like and not creasing, and it is almost undetectable once you blend it out, which I 100% love about it. And so that is why this is my most favorite color corrector I tried this year, and my third most favorite under eye product in general that I tried this year. This product right here is amazing. I love it. It's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Only 2 concealers to go. My top 2 most favorite concealers I tried in 2024, and at number 2 I have one that's a bit on the bougie side, but I fell in love with it, and so it's number 2, and I am talking about this one from Westman Atelier. This is the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Concealer and Corrector. This concealer is incredible. I was telling you earlier in the video that there's only one concealer in this collection where I can confidently tell you you can put it on and you don't need to powder it, and that's this one right here. I can confidently say just dab a little bit of this underneath your eyes and you can leave your house without powder, and I promise you, you're not going to look like a crazy mess in a few hours. This concealer is that good. It's truly the only concealer I have ever tried that can actually claim to be creaseless. Whenever I do a concealer review and I read that the concealer is claiming to be creaseless, I'm like, yeah, right. You're not creaseless, okay? You're just lying to me. This one can actually claim to be creaseless, and I can tell you guys that I believe it. So take a look right here at the consistency of this concealer. As you can see, it has a beautiful medium coverage with a natural to glowy finish. Definitely more on the natural side, not too glowy, but also not matte at all. So a beautiful natural finish concealer with a hint of glow to it, with a beautiful thin formula that is actually creaseless, and a medium coverage that you can definitely build up to be almost a full coverage. This concealer also is one that I can forgo my color corrector with. I don't think I have ever seen my purpley hues show through this one, so it is honestly a 10 out of 10 concealer through and through. I absolutely love it. I highly recommend it, and this is definitely a splurge, but it's a splurge that I'm happy I personally made, because I have been in love with this concealer ever since I tried it. When it comes to like bougie products and very luxurious priced items, Westman Atelier often surprises me for the good. Like, their products are formulated honestly above and beyond a lot of other high-end products, and so I feel like sometimes the price is sometimes the price is justified, and this definitely might be one of those where I'm like, I don't care how much you are excellent and I love you. And I don't feel that about a lot of luxury brands that often. In a lot of occasions when it comes to luxury brands like Chanel, for example, you guys know I'm always like, you're just the name, the formula just isn't giving me what I want. But with Westman Atelier in particular, I can see that every single formula has been thought through, and I honestly end up loving the performance of a lot of their items. Anyways, let's move on to my number 1 most favorite concealer I tried this year, which I also think was the first concealer I tried in 2024, the first new concealer I tried in 2024, and it's a concealer from Laura Mercier. It is this one right here, the Laura Mercier Real Flawless Concealer. I have, you guys, I don't talk about it often, it's always in my description box though, I have a Laura Mercier discount code for 15% off their website. I believe the code is Patty15. I'll have it linked down below. I'll put the code on the screen for you guys right now in case it's not Patty15, but hopefully it is. Anyways, if you are ever shopping the Laura Mercier website, code Patty15 can save you some money. This concealer right here is absolute perfection, okay? I have it in 3 different shades, and I kind of go in between them depending on like if it's summertime or winter or whatever. This one is 1N0, which is the lightest one I have. 1N1 also works for me. Here is what the packaging of this one looks like. It has a nice thick but not too big applicator, and here is the swatch of it for you. This one has a beautiful liquidy formula that has a bit of a creaminess to it. It's not super, I'm going to go all over the place. And a beautiful medium coverage. The finish of it, I would say, is natural to glowy, and it creases very little. Like, I'm not confident enough in it to tell you you can go without powder underneath your eyes with this one. I would definitely still set it with a little bit of translucent powder, but like a minimal amount. You don't need much. The reason I like this one, and this is my number one over the Westman Atelier one, even though the Westman Atelier one is fantastic, is because I tend to prefer that this formula is just a tiny bit thinner, and also I like that it's a tiny bit glowier as well. Besides that, whenever I do these ranking videos, I always tell you guys I'm ranking on level of excitement per se, and obviously my level of excitement for a product is going to be affected by how much I love using the product. So the products that I love most are going to be my most favorite products. But also something that makes a product exciting to me is how much I want to reach for it. And I have reached for this concealer time and time again this year. This has been my most used concealer of 2024. And so even though I feel like the Westman Atelier I like almost just as much, this one has been more loved for longer. I have not been able to put it down. Even after I got the Westman Atelier one and I love it as much as I do, I always see myself reaching for this one over any other concealer in my collection. And so that's why I was telling you that this year I tried my new most favorite concealer in my collection, period, and that is this one right here. I reach for this concealer on a daily basis. I always want to pick it above all others, and it's because it makes my under eyes look bright and hydrated, and it doesn't crease, and it doesn't ever like wear off. It is a long-lasting concealer with a beautiful medium coverage that gives my under eyes exactly what I'm looking for. It gives me the brightness that I want. It gives me the coverage that I want. It stays on forever. I love the formula. I love the spreadability of it. I love that, I don't know, it's just perfection for me, okay? This concealer is wonderful. I do always use this one on top of a bit of a color corrector. So for example, today I have my Tarte creaseless corrector on, and then this over top, and then I set everything with a tiny bit of translucent powder. But that is my preferred way of doing my under eyes. I feel so secure when I use a color corrector in knowing that nothing purple is going to show through my concealer, and I'm going to be looking nice and bright all throughout the day, that I tend to prefer to always use a color corrector. Even if I use a concealer that I'm like, this concealer covers everything and nothing is going to show through. It might be a mentality thing, but a color corrector makes me feel secure in my makeup, putting it underneath my concealer. And so this one tends to be the concealer that works best for me, in particular on top of the color corrector. It has the perfect amount of coverage that I need once I have my color corrector on. And I find that it makes my under eyes look really, really nice. So therefore, that is the most exciting concealer for me for 2024. It is my most used concealer for 2024, and honestly, my favorite concealer at the moment, period. And trust me, I have a drawer with so many beautiful concealers, but none of them excite me as much as this Laura Mercier one. Anyways, that is it. I truly hope that this video was helpful. If you liked it, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next one. Bye.